one lawsuit can literally reach a point where you have no money to pay up for the lawsuits.
That whatever liability is coming onto the directors and the officers of a company on account of their actions, so those costs should be borne by us, by insurance.
क्या ध्यान रखूं मैं पॉलिसी खरीदते वक्त? What should I talk specifically look into?
India is always acclaimed as a very tolerant country, right?
What is an average cost we are seeing specifically around D&O claims in general? Hey guys, hi, I'm Tejas, the founder of BimaKavach. We are a startup and SME focused insurance broking company. We also like to call ourselves as an insurtech because we use a lot of tech to solve insurance problems in general. We feel that business insurance is fairly broken and somebody needs to step in and solve for more complex products like liability insurance, property insurance, other than just health insurance. And this is a series where we want to talk about how we can simplify claims. So, welcome to the first episode of Claims Simplified with BimaKavach. It's a conversation series and an ongoing series where we simplify the world of insurance claims with insights from a lot of insurance and industry experts. Before we deep dive into the today's conversation, let me introduce what we exactly do to make insurance effortless for businesses in India. See, for too long, businesses have struggled with the processes, claims, the delays, the confusing terms, the long forms. And we are here to change that. Our mission is to make the entire insurance process right from when you buy this policy, when you are trying to understand a certain policy, making that easy, quick, straightforward, which we do it, let's say in real time. We can set up a lot of policies with the help of our underwriting engine in less than 5 minutes, so businesses can focus on their growth. But then how do you actually, when rubber hits the road, when there is a claim problem, when there is a fire at your factory, or when there is a legal notice against you, how do you then solve for it? So for this today, we are basically going to break down directors and officers insurance policy. And we have an expert with us, Mr. Ramraj Vishwakarma from HDFC Ergo. He's a seasoned lawyer and an insurance professional with almost over 17 years of experience. He's been with HDFC Ergo for 15 years and is currently vice president of liability claims. And he's handled literally everything when it comes to liability claims, from cyber to professional indemnity to D&O to CGL, and comes with a lot of experience dealing with cases and disputes that can arise because of let's say a claimant that's going after an insured or vice versa as well. Apart from handling claims, he's also been involved in developing a lot of insurance products with his current insurance company, HDFC Ergo. So, thanks for doing this, Ramraj, and welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Tejas. Indeed, it's a great platform to be in, just to break down this product into a very simplified form so that we are able to make people understand what this product is and how it works at the time of claims.
Correct.
Thanks, Tejas, for that.
Thanks, Ramraj. So, what are we going to do today, Ramraj, is that maybe we can just start from understanding the very basics of D&O insurance. And then we can sort of deep dive into when a claim happens, what should we do? How should we look at the entire what's covered, what's not covered? What should we do maybe from an insurance point of view? What should a new buyer look at? But the idea is that a lot of people have a lot of questions generally around what this product can actually do. Every time we speak to a founder, director, or a CXO who is buying these policies, we realize that it's the same questions mostly, but there is a lot of anxiety around setting up a new policy. And we would want you to sort of, curb that down, answer, break the myths, break the entire, bust the myths that, people come with, that this policy does this or does not do this. So we'll start out with just warming up around what is a D&O insurance. If you could just briefly explain what it is, and why do you think it's important specifically from a very SME and a startup lens as well?
Sure, Tejas. So, before I take this question, I mean, why this D&O insurance is required? So we need to understand what is the legal domain is currently is for all these startups and all these SMEs and the companies. So look, the concept of insurance for director and officers of the companies. So basically, it is being accepted by our Companies Act, which says that the personal liability of a directors and of the officers who are acting on behalf of a company. right? So whatever action they have taken, whatever decision they have taken, so there are all chances that it can go good and bad, right? And in bad times only you see disputes
Correct.
coming into the picture. So in order to protect the personal liabilities of these director and officers, there is a provision of director and officer insurance. So which simplifies says that whatever liability is coming onto the directors and the officers of a company on account of their actions, their decisions, so those costs should be borne by us by insurance, for which companies is required to take the D&O insurance. So I'll give you an example. So under the for the listed companies, SEBI has a very specific guidelines that all the listed companies or the high value entities, they are mandatorily required to have a D&O insurance just to protect this thing. Just take an example. You are a director in a company and you have taken one decision, which is having an impact on the shareholders, which is having impact on your employees, or maybe you are creditor auditor to whom you are working. And one fine day you are seeing that a lot of litigation is coming onto you as a individual capacity. Now, so there are chances that you may run out of the funds just to take care of all this litigation. And in India, litigation is like going in years, and you are incurring a huge cost just because you have taken some decision to run your own business or some other companies. Just to safeguard those liabilities, those expenses, D&O insurance came into the pictures. So basically, it's to be in a very layman term, you can say that for all the wrongful act for which a claim can comes to you as an individual on a personal capacity. So those potential exposures are being covered by D&O insurance.
And I think it just makes more sense for SMEs and startups to set it up. Whether, I mean, okay, fine, listed companies are made mandatory by SEBI. But as you said rightly, that, one lawsuit can literally reach a point where you have no money to pay up for the lawsuits. Um, then why is it that startups look at it just from a compliance perspective and SMEs are not setting it up? Is it because that we as an industry are not creating enough awareness on the ground, or there are some misconceptions around this, which we generally see? One misconception that I see is that, oh, it may be very complex and plus it may be very expensive to buy. But have you seen something after being in the industry for so many years?
So look, this is how this life insurance also evolved, right? Initially, the concept of life insurance is why to invest in life insurance, right? We are here to live along, then why to invest
Correct.
in premium, right? So this is how industry evolved, and people realize when these policies are tested at the time of claim, when the peoples are requiring cash in order to meet their obligations, then these policies are tested. So same thing is happening for this liability insurance also currently. So we are dealing with a lot of startups wherein the policies are issued to them. So initially, just for the sake of complying with the requirement, they have purchased those policy, and we have seen the sublimit and the sum insured which is there in the policy. It is not that enough to meet the legal obligation. But one claim, right? One claim in India. So we have seen that the defense cost is going into crore, penalty by the SEBI, penalty by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. It going gone into lakhs and crores. So when such claims comes and when such claims are filed with the insurance companies, and at that moment when insurance company makes that payment, so the kind of relief which we have seen from the SME point of view, it's a huge, because all these startups and all these SMEs, for them, availing a fund or managing the fund, it's a big issue, right? At that point of time, if you are getting such that kind of relief, that there is an insurance company who can back up you for the defense cost or for the penalty which is coming to you, to just to safeguard your cash plans. So this gives a huge relief to them. So it happens in one of the startups. So actually, it was not for a D&O claim; it is for some other policies. But when we start into discussing about the what is the prospect of the liability, so at that moment, I have given the example. Look, under the D&O policy, this is the type of cases which get covered. So all the defense costs, all the employment-related cases, all the security action which is going on against the company, regulatory actions against the individuals. So all these expenses and the costs are getting covered under the D&O policy. Then he interestingly asked what can be the maximum liability you have seen. So as far our experience, we have seen liability going into the crores, right? So by giving that insight to that entity, to the CFO of that company, he really inclined to have this policy on board, because all these policies are tested when the claims are there. Until and unless
Absolutely.
you are understandable about the exposure which these policies are getting covered, right? So it add value to it.
Absolutely. So we always, whenever we consult any company, no matter what sizes, we always say that, sir, आप fire खरीद रहे हो, marine खरीद रहे हो, आप group health खरीद रहे हो, but you haven't taken any policy to safeguard your own interest within the company. And it can come from anywhere else, not just a fire loss or a marine loss, but the loss can come from a legal lawsuit, which you rightly said that, just like in life insurance, everyone's thought कि कभी मरेंगे ही नहीं, तो यहाँ भी लगता है कि कभी केस तो आएगा ही नहीं. But have you seen that changing in general in India? Are we getting more litigious compared to what we were 10 years ago specifically? And while then setting up a policy, what should a company take care of when they are, even before we get into claims, क्या ध्यान रखूं मैं पॉलिसी खरीदते वक्त? What should I talk specifically look into?
So look, in such case, so we have seen, so currently what was happened 10 years back. So India is always acclaimed as a very tolerant country, right? So
Absolutely.
normally people over here are not that much litigious, and same applies with the entities also. But in past much year, I mean, just back 5-10 years, so we have seen that trend has changed. So now for every contractual obligation which is not been met are being addressed by the court. So people are tend to take all the dispute to the court. So when these contractual obligations, till the time it is a civil suit, it's fine. So it is between the company to company. The thing get bad when either of the parties file a criminal complaint or giving the criminal color to a civil dispute. So in such case, what happened? The individual of the company of that entity that get involved. So you have many times you have seen that the check bounced or some kind of obligation is not met by the company. So the customer is filing a criminal complaint against those directors to the employees of the company. They are not going to the consumer court per se only. That
So
okay,
for
you
the
have,
audience, is criminal or just a civil case is covered under DNO, or can a criminal case also be covered from an employer's or a insured's perspective in this case?
yeah. So your criminal cases, if it is filed against the individual, and of course it is filed against the individual only. So all these expenses are covered under the D&O policy. For civil cases also, civil cases where it is filed against the individual directors and officers, then those civil cases are also covered. So in that cases, we cover the defense cost and some award if it is passed by the court that get covered.
A common question इसमें which we generally get is, what if I am proven guilty? uh, in the case of, let's say, I court says that I'm a criminal now. Let's say it was a criminal case. Four directors were named into it. And eventually, let's say one of the directors actually did a act of crime, versus three were unaware of what the incident was or situation was. So at the time of a claim, how does then insurance companies look at such scenarios, and what happens once the person is found guilty and the other three are found innocent?
So normally in all D&O policy, there is a clause of severability. So what does it say is that if one act, fraudulent act, more specifically, if it is done by one of the directors, due to which few other directors or few other employees are also roped into the litigation, then in such case, till the time court finally adjudicate or finally found that this individual has done fraudulent, intendedly done the fraud things, till that time insurance company continue to pay this defense cost. And for other three people, other three innocent person who are not found by the court that as a culprit, so for those individual companies continue to pay the defense cost. So it will be like that. The moment court decide that these individuals found guilty of a dishonest act, deliberate dishonest act, on that moment the advancement of defense cost stopped by the insurance company for that particular individual only.
I was just asking then, will the insurance company recover these costs eventually from that guilty person, or subrogation will not apply in a liability D&O like policy?
So in such case, the insurance company will continue to pay defense cost till the time court gives a final verdict to it. So till that time, defense cost will be payable, and those defense cost is not recoverable from the insured till that
Got it.
point.
Got it. Thoda sa, I'll take a step back and I just want you to sort of tell us about what is covered uh, in the policy, and how should an insured look at what limits do they buy, any specific metrics that a company who is buying for the first time or renewing it for the first time should look at, because this is a very common question that I get, that hey, look, I have raised a series C funding of maybe $15 million, but my DNO now that I've set up is just a 1 crore. So what should I do, Tejas? Should I buy as per my revenue? Should I buy as per my funding status? What should I do basically? So just maybe a idea of what the markets are doing. How do you look at what the limits suffice, and what does DNO actually cover that an insured should look at while buying the policy?
Okay, so it's a very valid question, because as a client or as a company, it's always it's always a question of fact that what is the sublimit you should ask for, what are the coverage you should look into the D&O policy. So look, it totally depends upon the nature of work you are doing, right? So as an individual, as a company, you know better than insurance company that what type of work you're doing, what type of exposure is going to be there, right? So if an organization is dealing into some financial things, right? If it is a financial institution, then they are more litigate toward the consumer or cases, also toward the regulator, toward the RBI, toward the FEMA, all those things. If it is a manufacturing entity, then of course you are more required to be compliant to our labor laws, to the factory side. So most of the cases will come from there, right? So in such case, what is the liability? Liability can come to your directors or to your employees, that need to be seen. So, what you anticipate about the defense cost within your jurisdiction? So, again, the jurisdiction also plays a vital role. So, if you are working or you are working of an organization is limited to a particular state, then your exposure is different. If your working is between two multiple countries, then of course you have a wider exposure. So you will see a claim coming from a foreign jurisdiction also, right? So these are the exposure you have. So as an company, you need to assess the exposure which you have, and of course then you need to work with the broker as well as to the insurance company to understand within the same benchmarking of the entity of some enterprises, what is the minimum or what is the maximum exposure under the policy they are obtaining. Apart from that, the coverage. So if you want additional coverage under the D&O policy for a coverage. So for example, for a manufacturing entity, so there can be multiple case coming from the labor laws, right? So normally in such cases, companies normally obtain a separate policy for EPLI, employment practices. In few D&O policy or in many D&O policy, so this EPL coverage is inbuilt, or through an endorsement you can have that coverage. So you can decide what type of coverage you want. So it basically, this coverage, EPL coverage, employment practice coverage, gives the coverage both to the director and officer as well as to the entity. So this is the good thing about the D&O policy, so that you can curate as per your requirement.
Got it. Got it. So jumping into now the main topic, which is specifically claims,
Mhm.
would want to understand before we get into what the processes are and how we look at claims. What is an average cost we are seeing specifically around DNO claims in general? Uh, which is a very common question. A lot of people ask us that does it cost 2 crores average? What is happening in the industry? What do you, because that will also help people to understand what coverages do they need specifically. So as a trend, what are you seeing, Ramraj, that people should be at least aware of?
So normally, they just what we are seeing currently in D&O policy to a defense cost, 50 lakhs is something minimum benchmark. 50 lakhs is getting exhausted like anything, because all the law firm, the grade one level of law firm and senior counsel to represent before High Court or Supreme Court, the amount of 50 lakhs erode within 2 or 3 hearings. So this is what we are seeing. So on an average, you can say that one CR is the average defense cost we are seeing right now.
Got it. Got it. And so now, when a claim has already happened, um, quick question around this is that how does a company know that this is a claim? A lot of first-time buyers are sort of confused, whether should we report it, whether should we not report it. How do they identify? Because it's not as straightforward as a fire. Fire ho gaya, to you can say that okay, my factory has been burned down. But how does a company, which is a small SME or a startup, know that it's time to file for a claim? And also, if you can talk a little bit about what are the common types of claims along with it that we should know about.
Yeah. So look, your D&O policies, any D&O policy says that whatever circumstances which organization thinks that it can going forward loop your directors or your key persons into the litigation, or it can turn into a major litigation, then you should report those circumstances and case it to the your insurance companies, because all these D&O policies are claim made policies. So what does it mean is that whatever circumstances or whatever legal notices or claim which is being developed during the policy period should be reported in that policy period only. So if some kind of litigation is come to your knowledge, if you have received some notices, some summons, or some written demand from either from an employee or from third party during a policy period, then you should report all those claims to your insurance company in the very same insurance policy. If you try to say that okay, I will retain all these claims at this year, next year I will notify to the insurance company. So please don't make such mistake, because all these are claimant policies. So the moment when an entities or when a director and directors become aware of any claim, then they should immediately report to the insurance company within the policy period.
So, as a standard TAT, I would say then once you receive anything in writing, whether it's a notice or an email, they should inform, let's say, the insurance company slash BimaKavach within the 10-15 odd days maximum, right?
Yeah,
Or
so
not
immediately they
even
should do
delay
that.
that at that
Yeah,
much.
correct. Because it can impact the coverage assessment, or that could also possible. For example, I have seen multiple cases. So wherein there is a legal notice comes to you, and we have seen okay, it's a very normal thing, company receiving a legal notice, and it's a fact also. If you are dealing into a huge revenue, then there is a multiple notices comes to you as a daily practice, right? So one company has received such kind of legal notices and they have responded to it. And for responding it, they have engaged one law firm, tier one law firm, and they have incurred around 50,000 rupees for replying that legal notices. And everything's halt at that point. 3 months has lapsed, policy get renewed, and next policy year, the insured received a notice from the court, and the base of that litigation was this legal notice only. In that legal notice, there is a clear-cut written demand onto the directors of the company. So it is written to the CEO of the company, alleging certain kind of wrongful act which is done by the CEO. Basis that this litigation, that civil suit was filed against that CEO. So now in this case, what has happened that insurance companies was asking when you came to know about this legal notice, why you have not disclosed it at the time of renewal, or maybe you have not reported into the last year policy. So this is one of the crucial factor wherein insured tend to retain this risk. So one thing, if you are going ahead and retaining the risk at your own, and then later on when this claim get bigger, and then you go to the insurance company to see a claim, then it become challenging for insurance company to give the coverage.
Got it. So, is it also safe to say then preemptively, even if sometimes I may not have received a notice, but I sort
Mhm.
of get aware of an incident, is that also a good time to at least write to the insurer and let them be notified about it? Is that also an okay practice, or you would say ki that's not needed until a written notice or a written email has been received?
So if an incident has happened, right, which you envisage that it can lead to a claim onto the director and the officer, then you should do that. Don't wait for
Got
the
it.
written demand. But if written demand has come to you and you think that it will grow in future, then please intimate to the insurance company immediately. No
Got
matter you have intimated to the insurance company, no matter it will grow or not, right? But in case if it is turned into a litigation, and in India we have seen that defense cost is running into a lakhs and crores, then it will have a major impact.
Got it. Got it. So just let's talk about a little bit about inside what's inside like a claim process from a both insurer's perspective and from a both insured's perspective. That what does the DNO claim process generally look like? What are the steps from start to finish in general? As an insured, what am I supposed to do other than just maybe calling Tejas that hey, look, I've received a legal notice from there? And what documents do you need in scenarios like, let's say, an employment practices claim or a GST claim or etc.?
Okay. So look, the DNO claim, as I said, it starts with the written demand coming to the director and the officers, or a notice or summons from the regulators or from the investigation agencies. So this is the starting point. So the moment you receive these documents, you have to report to your insurance company or to the broker immediately that this is what we have received. This will act as a trigger point. So insurance company will definitely take the cognizance of it. They will register this claim under the policy, and then they can start doing the discussion with the insured, with the entity to understand what is the matter. Then primarily what is required under the DNO policy is that whatever expenses you are incurring to defend those matters, all those expenses, all those engagement with the defense counsel should be consented with the insurance company.
So you're saying that first, before I appoint any sort of a arbitrator, lawyer, counselor, whatever it is, I have to come to you. Ki this is what has happened. This is what I need to spend. Um, can you approve of it? Is that what it basically means?
Right, right. So this basically the idea behind taking the consent on the insurance company is that as an entity, it's happened that this is the first case for you of this kind. But as an insurance company, we have seen a lot of cases. At that moment, there are chances that due to panic or due to some other reason, you end up incurring large expenses, or such kind of thing. We have seen that insured indulge into a discussion with a lot of law firms, and they end up into expending more, and sometimes the decision also goes wrong. So as an insurance company, we can give you the insight what we have seen in past in such cases, how it works. There are law firms on our panel for which we can give you a discounted rates for very same work. So whole idea is to not only to retain the cost, but also to ensure that you are also getting the right advice. Although final decision always lies with the insured to go with us or not, but as an insight, we always help insured or to the entity about such kind of cases.
So can I seek help from HDFC Ergo then if I say that I'm a small company, I don't even know any lawyers, which can be the case, right? An SME or a startup. So then when the incident has happened, can I come to you and say that, hey, can you appoint a lawyer on our behalf or help us find at least a lawyer so that, it's something that can help us also as a company?
Yeah, Tejas. So in that case, we have so we can provide you the contact details of our empaneled lawyers so that you can discuss with them about the engagement terms and all those stuff. So in that case, what has happened that communication directly happens between the organization that is insured in the law firms, and as per which you start doing the work.
Got it. And once, let's say, I notify the entire incident to you and the claim has been now notified and registered, how much time does it generally take from start to finish of the claim? Because that's a very common question. Ki Tejas, how much time will it take? What's going to happen? Until when are you going to pay up? So if you can brief about just the scenarios of what plays out after the claim has been registered specifically.
So as this DNO claims is toward defense cost only, most of the cases toward defense cost only. It totally depends upon the court functioning, how much time they takes to decide a matter. So normally, we have seen that depending upon the matter, the case can stretch with from 6 months to 5 years. So this is the tail of a claim under the D&O policies. Right. So meanwhile, since the claim is intimated, insurance company has given the consent upon the counsel and incur the expenses, and timely updation is required. What is going on, going in the court? What is the progress of the matters? And then insurance company, give the coverage position that the matter is covered or not, so that insured is also have an insight. I mean, where the claim is going. And once the coverage is established, then you can anyways take the advancement of defense cost. So as our HDFC Ergo policy has a concept of advancement of defense cost, which means even before disposal of a matter before the court, if you have incurred some expenses, and then you can claim it under the insurance policy. Whenever you incur the expenses, you can take the reimbursement from the insurance. So this is how it works. And normally it takes 4 or 5 years, right? So the whole idea behind to giving the advancement of defense cost is to ensure that our insured or the policyholder get the proper amount at the right time. So he should not wait for 5 6 years so that the matter first get closed before the court and then he seek reimbursement of the policies.
So if I understand this right, the claim can go on for 6 years, 5 years because the court is not come to a decision. Eventually, then two questions arise, which are also again very commonly asked. That then will you keep paying my defense cost for the next 4 5 years, uh, even if I don't renew the policy? If I renew the policy, you may definitely pay for it. But what if you don't renew my policy? Will you still pay me up? And one very interesting scenario I remember, to add to this question, one company shut down basically.
Hmm.
The court case kept going on, but the company went into basically NCLT bankruptcy, and they were like, "Abhi to we'll have to shut down eventually." So, what if a scenario happens, Ramraj, that company is shut down, but the court cases may still be going on, or is that even a possibility?
Yeah, so we have seen such cases. So the company is shut down. So insolvency proceeding is going on before the
Correct.
court, and the directors are roped in into another litigation where they are continue to incurring the cost. But the since organization is not functioning, so the directors are continue to pay the defense cost from their own pocket. Right. So in such cases, your D&O policy will respond even after your proceeding is going on before NCLT for the liquidation. So D&O policy will continue to make payment to the directors who are making payment for the defense cost. So this is how it functions. And even if you don't renew the policy from the same insurer, and the claim is reported on the past policies, and the claims continue to claims continue for 3 4 years, and you continue to incur the expenses. In that scenario, also insurance company will continue to make the payment of defense cost, irrespective whether you have renewed the policy for the same insurer or not, because all these are claim made policy. If you have already notified this claim under the policies, then whatever expenses, whatever loss amount you are making the payment for that particular claim, it will pick up under that policy under which you have reported the claim.
So, just to understand, let's say if I buy today from HDFC Ergo and I shift to there are two scenarios: either I don't renew it with HDFC Ergo or I don't renew the policy at all. And if I renew it within another insurer. So, I'm assuming that in the former case, when I have not renewed any policy with any other insurer, no risk will be paid for. Is that correct?
Sorry, come back again.
So if I don't renew the policy with any insurer, not even HDFC Ergo at the time of renewal, will I still be getting paid for my claim
Yes,
amount?
you will, because claim is reported to the last year policy, and the assessment will be going on as per the last year policy terms and condition only.
Got it. Got it. And if I shift to another insurer, then
Mhm.
whether HDFC Ergo will be liable to pay for this or the other insurer will be liable to pay for the
So
new defense cost.
it will be the previous insurer, that is the HDFC Ergo, who will be
Got,
continuing to make the payment of defense cost.
got it. So, just to know and understand, Ramraj, how does an insurer look at whether an X claim or a Y claim is valid, admissible? How do we determine whether it's just based on the policy conditions or it's something else completely?
So it's a very inside thing, but yes, I am happy to respond to it, because look, it's a very contractual driven policy. So whatever written over the policy, based on that terms only we assess the claim. So as I said that this D&O policy is basically for directors and officers of the company. So first and primary thing that whatever claim is reported to the insurance company, whether this claim is related to an individual, to a natural person or not. If it is against the entity, then of course this policy will not respond. If it is against the natural person, then this policy will respond. So this is the basic primary things to be kept into the mind while we assess any D&O claim. Then apart from that, there is a concept of retroactive date. So whatever wrongful act or whatever error and omission basis which this claim has come to the insured. So we check the date when this wrongful act was done, was committed. So if it is prior to the retroactive date under the policy, then this incident will not picked up under the policy. If that wrongful act has happened after the retroactive date of the policy, then insurance company will continue to pick those cases arising out of those wrongful act.
So one last question for me is, I'm very curious to know how is India shaping up in terms of compliances, regulatory frameworks. I know a lot of acts are changing continuously. Some are enforced, some are not. But only from the perspective of DNO, what would you recommend to the entire directors, founders, senior folks listening to the podcast, and sort of tell them that, look, these are the foreseeable challenges that can happen in the next 5 years, and this is the reason why you should buy a DNO ASAP starting today.
Mhm. So regulatory changes is happening rapidly in India right now with this government intention to simplify the laws. It has already done major impact on the legal side. So we have seen that labor laws has been unified. So most of the labor laws which is not being used, that has been nullified, and now government has come up with a single laws applicable for all labor laws. So this is the recent development. And then there is a digital data protection law for India, right? So which says that liability for the companies in case of data breach can goes up to crores, right? So all these are penalties are there into the act. But currently, this data protection rules are not notified, so not in the place. But no sooner it will be get implemented. So these are the recent regulation which has come to the picture, and then Consumer Protection Act. So we have seen in past year that Consumer Protection Act power has been given to the consumer forum to to put the liability onto the director or to the employees of the entities. So all these liabilities are attaching to the directors and the employees of the companies. And similarly, the Companies Act, it is already there, right? So Companies Act anyways cast responsibility onto the directors and onto the officers who are the key position holders to do a work in a certain way. And if it is not done, then there is a provision of penalty. Then SEBI is there. So under the SEBI, so for all the listed organizations, so there are certain regulation and these which require to be complied. And in case of failure, then SEBI provide a heavy penalty to the organization as well as to the entity and to the individual. So these are the legal framework which we are seeing, and constitution of the special court. We are seeing this NCLT is already there. National Company Law Tribunals is there. Then commercial court has come to the picture. So we are seeing that the court is moving fast, and people are seeing that there are various arena or various method to raise the dispute and get it resolved. Arbitration is another way out, and same with the mediation. So coming with the online digital mediation process. So dispute is getting,
ODRs.
yeah. So disputes are getting resolved now quickly as
But
compared
can a
to,
business settle the claims via an ODR?
yeah, they can through
Okay.
the mediation.
If they mention in their contracts, I'm assuming.
Yeah, they can, and if the both the parties agree
Agree to it.
to refer to this matter to the mediation, then they can.
And
And of
are
course,
insurers okay with mediation?
yes, insurer is also okay because it is a time saving and also a cost saving
Cost saving
method
process.
to save the dispute. And under the D&O policy, we acknowledge that any settlement happen between the mutual agreement, it is covered in the policies.
Got it. Got it.
So these are the legal and regulatory framework which we are seeing that which is getting changed, and which has fastened the turnaround of the court functionings. Right. So yes, for all the new setups and for the SMEs, these are the new challenges which they will face.
Got it. No, thanks a ton, Ramraj, for doing this today. I think there were a lot of insights that a lot of us can take back, not just to understand what a DNO is, but also how to use a DNO policy when actually you receive the legal issues. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Ramraj. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Tejas. Thanks.